Sometimes things happen that we can't quite put our finger on. We don't really know why they happened or how they happened. It's sort of outside of the realm of, our understanding. And, it's hard for us to compartmentalize what transpired, but, we always find a way. And, if you try hard enough, there's an old saying that goes, if you can't explain something, don't try, because you're gonna end up hurting yourself thinking too hard about that one, and you don't want to do that because that's gonna mess you up in the long run. So if you could just reach into your pocket for me and oh, what's that in your hand? What you got there in your hand? You just pull out your pocket. What's that? Oh, that's 2 tickets. 2 tickets to the Bonkers Theater. Arnold Graff was your average fella. He lived a simple life. He went to work, dressed nice, and most importantly, didn't go sticking his nose in other people's business. Arnold usually held his head high and never ran into any issues, but he had run into an issue this year that he could not avoid. It was Valentine's Day, and he did not know what to give for his wife. It wasn't that he was an unthoughtful husband. Some would say Arnold was too thoughtful. He had thought of everything ever to get his wife in the previous years. Every memento, every trinket, every precious object he could afford, he had brought her way. But this year, of all years, he was at a loss of ideas. He had no idea what to get his dear wife of 18 years. The time came for Arnold to go home from work. To go home empty-handed. His heart sunk in his chest on the ride home. He loved his wife and wanted to give her the world. He longingly glanced out the window when something caught his eye. It was an old tunnel of love, set in an old lot. The thing must have been built in the 70s, Arnold thought to himself. The old tunnel of love looked to be abandoned, but was somehow familiar to Arnold. That's it, Arnold thought. That's the answer to my problem. When Arnold arrived home, he rushed in and grabbed his wife, Susan, and gave her a big hug and a kiss on the lips. "Come with me, Susan. I have something to show you," Arnold said as he led Susan along by the hand. "We're here," exclaimed Arnold. "Why, this is nothing more than an empty parking lot with a rundown old tunnel of love. Why did you bring me to this dreadful old lot, Arnold?" "Don't you remember, Susan? This place, Susan. Remember, this is where we first fell in love," Arnold pleaded. "This old place, it does look familiar, but this can't be. That old tunnel of love was in the countryside, not dead center in the city." Arnold paused. It was a traveling circus we had gone to. Perhaps this was the ride's final resting place. Arnold began to tear off the wooden planks that held the entrance to the tunnel closed. "Come, Susan, we must see inside." "How do we know it isn't one that looks similar?" Susan asked. "We'll have to see inside to know for sure. Now come on." The two clambered inside the old tunnel of love. Inside the tunnel, they found that the interior was just like they remembered all those years ago. The wonderful bulbs blinked and flashed, and wonderful romantic music began to play over the intercom. "How could this be?" pondered Susan. "Did you plan this?" she asked Arnold. "Not at all. It's amazing. It is no different than the day we first fell in love." Look! Arnold pointed towards the car parked down the main hallway, lined with heart-shaped archways, adorned with blinking bulbs. "Come on, Susan, come on," Arnold said. "Come on, Susan, come on," Arnold said, full of glee, as he pulled his wife by his side and carried her down the path. Arnold jumped into the cart and patted the seat next to him with a wide grin. Susan followed and clambered into the intimate cart. Arnold pulled Susan to his side and pulled down on the restraint. The cart then began to roll along the path into a dark corridor. The two were giddy and so amazed by the ride being in such great, not to mention working, condition after all of these years. This may have been the greatest Valentine's Day gift that Arnold could have ever conceived, but he did not conceive the thing. It was as if it was brought to him, perhaps by fate, he had thought to himself. The couple continued through the dark twists and turns before seeing the twinkling lights approaching from up ahead. It was just like they remembered from all those years ago. The twinkling lights in the dark tunnel made it look as if the two were traveling through the night sky, or perhaps an old mine full to the brim with gorgeous jewels, too dim to make out any detail. "Do you remember what comes next?" asked Arnold. "I don't quite remember," Susan shyly replied. "There should be a room coming up around this next bend." Arnold was right. There was light around the bend. The light emanated from the room up ahead. It was a room filled with winged babies, holding bows and heart-tipped arrows. The winged babies bobbed up and down alongside clouds and hearts. The room was gorgeous and charming, and the couple were filled with nostalgia and love. This was where it had happened all those years ago. This was where Arnold and Susan had shared their first kiss together. And now, finding themselves in the same room on Valentine's Day, they shared another. The cart made its way back to the entrance. "This was so nice, Arnold. Did you plan this?" Susan inquired. "No. In all honesty, I didn't know what to get you for Valentine's Day. But then I spotted this place, and I knew I had recognized it. It had to have been the place. I can't believe this happened. It's like it was meant to be." Susan was taken aback. "It's hard to believe you just happened upon this place." Arnold was deep in thought for a moment. "Do you want to ride again?" Susan smiled and agreed. The cart began to move, and the couple went through the ride once again. When the couple arrived back at the front, Susan began to step out of the cart. Arnold grabbed her arm. "You don't want to ride again?" "Honey, this was a nice walk down memory lane, but I think I've seen enough for tonight. We should get dinner." Arnold began to frown. "Can we please ride one more time, Susan? Please." Susan reluctantly agreed and rode the ride once again. Susan then stepped out of the cart and began walking towards the exit. She then realized that Arnold was not beside her and looked back to see him at the cart. "You're not coming, Arnold?" Arnold looked over at her. "One more time, dear. One more time, please." Susan was upset by this. "No, I don't think so," she said. Susan then suggested that the two of them go to Taco Bell. Arnold sadly agreed and dragged his feet the entire way to the exit. He looked like he was about to cry as he was pulling away from the tunnel of love. Susan had no idea that he had so much of an attachment to that tunnel. The couple arrived at the Taco Bell drive-thru. but it seemed that nobody was manning the drive-thru, so the couple had to go inside to order. When inside the Taco Bell, they encountered a very long line of at least 7 customers in front of them. Arnold really wanted to go back to the Tunnel of Love and not wait in the really long line in the Taco Bell. Arnold had been to Taco Bell many times in his life, and has also been in this location multiple times, and knew that on average it took at least 2 minutes per customer to get their order done and ready for. So that means that it would take at least 14 minutes for the orders in front of them to be settled, and then they would have to order. Just then, a very large man walked in through the door and let out a really loud burp and didn't even say "excuse me" or "sorry" or anything. Both Arnold and Susan thought this was very rude, and that nobody should act like that, and maybe that the man should have some sense of shame for his actions. Arnold wished he had the confidence to say something to the man for burping really loud and obnoxiously like that in front of everyone. But unlike the burping man, Arnold was considerate and didn't believe in creating a commotion, so he just let it be. Also, during all of the time it took him to mentally process all those things, it would be awkward to bring it up. Just then, the burping man let out another loud burp. This one even louder than the one before. It was so insane, and made Arnold kinda upset that anyone would ever live in that manner. The man kept burping and burping, and it was really scary and stinky and loud and smelly. Finally, it was time for Arnold and Susan to order, but unfortunately, they had been so distracted by the big fat burping man that they could no longer remember what they had wanted in the first place. The big fat man got really upset by them taking so long. "What's freaking taking so long?" blurted out the big fat burping man in front of everyone. The rest of the customers and employees all agreed with the big fat burping man and started pelting Arnold and Susan with all kinds of tacos, burritos, crunch wraps, and Cinnabon delights. The couple held hands and sprinted out the door crying into their car, where the crowd followed and started rocking the car back and forth really aggressively. The two narrowly escaped the Taco Bell parking lot. "We should have just stayed at the tunnel," Arnold said as they were driving away from the terrifying Taco Bell. "I know, honey. You were right. I should have listened to you," replied Susan. The two pulled up to the lot, and there was no Tunnel of Love to be seen. "Where is it? Where's my precious Tunnel of Love?" Arnold began to cry, and it was a really sad sight to see. And Susan started to get upset and cry too. The two cried for hours and hours into the early morning. Arnold had to take a break from crying so he could call into work and tell them that he would not be able to come in because he had spent the whole night crying in a parking lot really loud and hard with his wife. "Maybe this wasn't a good Valentine's Day gift at all," Arnold cried. "Maybe I should have just gotten you a nice box of chocolates or something." Susan hugged her sad husband. "It's fine. I like the Tunnel of Love. I thought it was really cool," she said. The two were really happy and hugged each other a lot and kissed a little bit too. It was really awesome, and when the sun rose up in the sky, they had decided to go back home and have a really nice nap and sleep really well.